למד כל הירושלמי. איפה הבחור? הוא
היה לפני החתונה של הרב.
כן, הוא עושה סיום על כל ירושלמי, הוא רוצה ברוך שלא הצלוח את זה.
לפני החתונה.
The Torah says to follow the words of the sages of the day. The laws of the Torah are only understood through these explanations of the Gedolim, and that we have a whole system of oral law that is worked out through this tradition that's given up to the Zugot, and the Zugot passed it down to the Tanaim and the Amorim, clarify those halachas. Every Jew is required to follow the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch is easy to follow. For all the people who say the Shulchan Aruch is too hard to follow, that's not true. The Torah is close to you, it's not far from you. It takes learning. Once you start to learn about it, you'll start to get the hang of it. These are inherent parts of what it takes to be a Jew, and you need these clarifications from the oral law and the rulings from the sages in order to codify it. All the oral law that we have today goes back to Har Sinai and Moshe Rabbeinu, and you don't know how lucky you are to be a Jew, to have a lifestyle with the Shulchan Aruch. You're going to act in a way where you're going to have more wisdom, and that's going to extend your life, and it's going to help your parnassah, it's going to help your marriage, it's going to help you to have better kids, and it's going to help you to have better neighbors and better relationships. It's going to push you in a direction where you have better interaction with your community and your family. Everything that the sages say and everything about the oral law and the Torah is a stream of water from the tree of life itself. It gives you life. The Torah is close to you. It's not far from you. You don't need to go to a mountain to discover it. In an amazing Chiddush by the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim, in Book 2 and in Book 3, he explains that the laws of nature are interwoven with virtue. It's blended in with how the nature works. The Rambam's pointing out the way you behave is interwoven with these other laws of nature itself. Human action with morality is intertwined with the nature. These are the structures of the way the universe is put together. And you have to make tshuva. You have to get better. For it is written, said the Gemara, do not preach, you preachers. They shall not preach to these people so that they shall not be overtaken by shade. The preachers mentioned here are the prophets who always begged Israel to better their ways. And in this verse, Hashem tells the prophets to stop preaching to Am Yisrael, for the people are disinterested and will simply shame them. The prophet Micha explains further why Hashem ordered the prophets to stop preaching. It is because the people are unwilling to accept criticism for their deeds. Once the people become disinterested in the words of the prophets, Hashem withheld prophecy. There's no parallel in regards to the words of the sages. Hashem never tells the sages to stop issuing directives and halachot and putting up fences. To the contrary, the sages are charged to always set down the law and issue clarifications and fences, whether the people are going to obey it or not. And those who reject their words are punished severely in all times. The Gemara continues, says, but here regarding the elders and the sages and the Gedolim, it is written, according to the teaching that they teach you, you shall do. This is in Devarim 17:11, because we need the explanations of the sages. You know, when you go and you look at a Masechet like Peah, those obligations of Peah, that's Doraita. But how much Peah do you leave? You can't go and just say, well, I just want to be a Torah Jew and just follow what the Torah says. You can't do it. You need the other part, which is the oral law. And because we're living in a time where they're adding all sorts of things, for instance, like in cranberry juice with the color red, it's made out of bugs. That didn't exist before. You need Gedolim who are going to tell you, yes, this is made out of an insect, this violates this part. That's why you need Hechsher today, because a lot of these processes are not done the same way as they were done before. Now, there's a key point here, and we see here in Micha, there's no such directive to tell the sages to stop. You got to listen to the sages because these Gedolim, they know more than you. Nobody went and told the Vilna Gaon to go learn 21 hours a day. Nobody told Ovadia Yosef to go learn, 20 hours a day. In fact, it's very much merit-based. You can go be a Gadol too. Go put in the years and go, sit and learn, put your nose in a book and go through the stuff for 21 hours a day. And you can also be great, but a guy who comes and learns a little bit, don't think that you know as much as these other people who are licensed by the Torah to come down and put down fences, because they can see more than you, because they eat from the tree of knowledge all day long, and you don't. So don't think that you can see the world with the same wisdom. You can't. And this is put together with the laws of Zak and Memre and following the real prophets and the false prophets and the rebellious sages. These things are clumped together. And you can find that about the false prophets in Devarim 13 and over here in 17 right next to it. The sages, according to the teaching that they teach you, you shall do. This verse is not linking the authority of the elders to them having to produce a heavenly sign, but simply states they are obeyed in all circumstances. A mamzer Talmud Chacham, that he's even greater than the Kohen Gadol, who's an Amaharetz. If he becomes a Torah scholar, can acquire a degree of greatness, and that shows us how amazing it is that when you're eating from the tree of knowledge all day long, these people who are the Gedolim of the day, they don't need to make a heavenly sign. The Torah just says Doraita that you have to listen to them in all circumstances. Everybody as a principle accepted the Shulchan Aruch, so there's nowhere to hide. That was unanimous. There's no minority about that at all. So the big question is, who are the sages? The sages are the people who are following the Shulchan Aruch and who advocate following the Shulchan Aruch. This is the tradition going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the tradition that was handed down to Rabbi Akiva and passed to the Amorim and passed to the Geonim and passed down to the Rishonim. These are your forefathers. These are your grandfathers. This is the tradition, and anyone who tells you anything about watering down the Shulchan Aruch or changing the Shulchan Aruch or not following the Shulchan Aruch, this is a crooked path, and this will lead you away from Kedusha. This is guaranteed to lead you away from Hashem, and the purpose of the Jew is to go toward Hashem. This is the path for the Jew to get very close to Hashem and to start getting all of the blessings that's promised to you in the Torah, and you can do it. And who are the Gedolim today? The Gedolim today are only those who are recognized by all the other major Haredi rabbis as being the leaders of the Jewish thought and Jewish people. People like Rabbi Kanievsky, people like the Belz Rebbe, people like the Gur Rebbe, the leaders of the major Hasidic dynasties, and the people that are head of the Lithuanian Orthodox community, the heads of the Sephardi communities today. These are the Gedolim. These are the people to follow. Pick one and go with it and enjoy it, because it's all a path that leads to Shemayim for you and a better life for you in this world. The Torah was given in front of everybody at Har Sinai. Everybody was a witness to it. We all heard it. Now you have some religion that comes up and says, oh yeah, there's a mystery and you got to look at all these riddles to figure out this other contradicting theology or replacement theology, God forbid. Judaism is the only religion where everything happens in front of the Jewish people. The stipulation on final halakhic determinations left to the Torah sages. There's no riddles here. The theology is given openly to the Jewish people. Follow the way of the sages. That is eternal. It is unchangeable, and it's for your good. As the Torah says, these statutes are for you to live, to get life, to get blessing, to get bracha. So these are not a burden. These are to water you so you can grow to be the strongest, healthiest version of yourself. Have a great day.